Greetings and happy holidays, everyone. It's one time again of the year. Man, it's only a few weeks left until Christmas. And, well, I'm actually looking forward to Christmas. For once, we have some white snow over here. Yay, finally. When we had snow in my, at least the part of the region where I live in Sweden, which not most of the time we don't have any snow. That's just a bummer. But as the reason I called is our blame on climate change, which the humankind is the most responsible for that. But at least the northern part of Sweden do in fact have a lot of snow, but that it's not uncommon. About I think it was about a week ago, um, northern part of Sweden actually received about I think it was about 3 to 4 feet of snow. That's a lot of snow here compared to what otherwise. But a few weeks earlier, I think, no, wait, it was actually around near the end of October when we had, well, they have up in north had about 6.5 feet of snow. So that is a lot of snow. um, I think we had, that where I live, we had received just about 6 or 7 inches snow, give or take. It's at least a decent enough for snow. And early this week, it had been really cold. It has been just below -0 Fahrenheit. So it had been really cold over here, but now the temperature is above zero. So that means the snow might melt away. Not necessarily, because according to weather, we are expecting to have at least a bit colder temperature later on. Like my dad told me we're expecting to have this cold to last until Christmas. And so yeah, Christmas in my country is 24th, not 25th, which is most countries in the world celebrate. I don't know why that my country celebrated the day before and not the actual day. Though we don't even know if Jesus was even born on 24th or 25th. But he was born at the night time, so who knows? But yeah, I mean, I consider the list on that part. And finally, I'm done with my newest auto series. Dark Noah's Revenge is finally done, and I don't tell it. It was a bit of pain in the butt. Each chapter will be released on Fridays, but I know that for certain that the last chapter will be released in some time in early 2024, actually, since 9 chapters, and we already in the second week in this of this month. So my current audio series will be posted the rest of the entire month, and the last one will be sometimes in early January next year. So that is done. So currently I'm working on another Christmas story. I so far about 7 pages, and I think about it's gonna be 8 or 9. After that, I have only 5 or 6 Christmas stories to remain to do, and I still have enough time since Christmas isn't just until about wow 2 weeks from now. Huh, time flies. And we have our Mr. Non-talking guy today. So yeah, yeah, that's reason why he's sick is because he did talk too much and doing his Mario voice when he played his Mario Galaxy on his channel. It's really took a toll on his voice, and that happens. That happened actually one time when I was recording one story that for um, when I made, I think, five, no, I think it was about 4 or 5 stories in audio in less than 2 days. But when I made earlier this year, when I made 15 or 16 stories as mostly audio, and that was just in less than 2, 3 days. I'm surprised that my throat was even killing me back then. Or the time when I made that audio story, what was it? Rarity and Trixie for almost 2.5 an hour long. I'm surprised that my voice even wasn't killing me back then. I only remember one time when my throat was really killed me most of the time. During the night, I was having a serious cough. I mean, I was coughing, coughing nonstop. And the next day, when I was talking, at least according to my parents, I sound like a walrus. That deep my voice were. And yeah, ever since then, I haven't sound like that. But my my voice can be a little bit deeper if I have a sore throat and when I'm sick or something. But it strange is my voice isn't when I do talk in a recording or a live stream like that, and afterwards, my voice doesn't sound any difference, and I don't know why. And well, another thing is I have recognized realized that my even afterwards when I normal talking, my voice even that's recorded afterwards in a stream, it doesn't really sound like my actual talking. For some reason, the mic has deepened the part of the voice, and that has not only happened to me, but happened to everyone. It's something like we can do something about it. It just, I think, it's just part of the mic makes the sound of the voice a bit deeper as it actually is. No matter if you're a young kid, if you're a teenager, or if you're a young adult, it might simply sound like that. Of course, there are always this other voice changing technology that's a program so you can change your voices. Like nowadays, days that is a AI voice program, you can sound like any celebrity. Like I have seen this couple of channels where people actually be using that type of program by using the voice of Donald Trump, Obama, Barack Obama, Joe Biden, and including their own wives. I was the first time I even heard that. I was what? Then I even saw they actually even had one particular channel called Pokemon Presidents. They even had George W. Bush and Joe Biden. What was his name again? Bill Clinton. His voice as well. It's an interesting technology that actually happens, but it's not like the new technology. This type of technology has been around for at least a number of years. Where I mean, I can see that I've seen that people can using this type of technology for um, simply to using it for blackmail or maybe expose things like that. But if you guys have seen action movies where kidnappers can be using some sort of device on the phone to deepen the voice to mask who this actual speaker is, That technology also have been around for at least a number of years. I think it's about maybe I think those voice changing technology have been around since the 70s or the 80s. But the new AI voice programs have been around at least what I think of for about 1 or 2 years. But it could be longer though. No, I don't. I wouldn't know for sure. But that's just unexpected though. It's just you know technology always increases development a lot. I mean, look at some of the most basic technology that we have been using every single day: TV, cell phones, computer. Back in the 30s and 40s, when the computer was actually in development, when they were used, compared to now and back then, those were big as they were big as a closet or something. They were big as a freezer. But now these days, you can even have the computer on your own phone. And when the phone was developed, I wasn't that impressive. But in the beginning, there were only like 12 phones that existed. Now, I don't even know how many phones there is in the whole world and how many that's been being produced every single day. I mean, considering how many new models that are coming out every single year or every month or so. So that's another thing. But if I say the exact number, um, I can't give exact, but at least billions, unless there are trillions of phones out there. I mean, old phones that's still not being used anymore. It's impressive. And TV though, they were developing that in the 50s when it came to Sweden. Though people assumed that TV weren't going to be a big hit, but look now, 50 to almost 60 years later, 70 or 80 years later, TV is still pretty much a big hit. And I'm actually glad for that. But even when TV did was announced back in the mid 50s in my country, there were only like one channel. And that channel was only had news broadcast, but it didn't broadcast every single day. It was only like I think it was maybe just 1 or 2 days in a week when they had their daily news broadcast. But it wasn't until I think it was mid 60s or early 70s when the color TV actually did start appearing, and that was impressive. I mean, I remember hearing the stories of, and this is actually a topic that even Game Guy may had actually heard of. Um, since the moon landing in 1969 in July, this was broadcasted to millions household in America. I don't know if it was broadcast in part of Europe, but when that had happened, that was one of the biggest broadcasts they ever made in human history. I believe the second one, or this most viewed, was when Elvis Presley made his Hawaii performance live. That was actually viewed by a half of a billion people global wide. Now that's impressive. And as technology develops even further, no one didn't know how the technology back then. Okay, if like go back to as back in the early 1800s, Jules Verne, the author, he wrote books on Captain Nemo and Nautilus and Journey to the Moon. He was way ahead of his time. He was way ahead of his time in centuries of development of that type of technology. Even though Nautilus was the first submarine in a book, I was. Even though I haven't read the book but seen movies of that based on it, I'm actually surprised he developed the idea of the concept of a submarine, well, it's a submerged vehicle under the water. Even though I think it was that submarine was actually water powered for some reason. The first one of the submarines that was used in First Second World War, and I believe that those submarines or U-boats, as they were called, well, the Germans submarines, well, they were even they were at the time they were actually powered by batteries. Like typical car battery, and the U-boats they were actually powered not by just one, not two, not even five. I think it was over 20 plus of those type of batteries. And here is the most dangerous one. Is a time if any water will happen to trap on these batteries, it will be a complete death trap. Because it happened, it will only produce a toxic gas. And if you're on the surface in a submarine and in confined space, well, that's another thing about it. So, another other thing is, but those submarines with those batteries power, you could just touch one of those things unless you've been getting a serious shock and die. It wasn't until like much later when those submarines batteries were replaced with generators powered by diesel or gasoline. Until later on, the first nuclear powered submarine was developed. Not believe it or not, one of the first powers, the nuclear powered submarine, was actually based on a surviving German U-boat, and that's impressive. Nautilus was actually named after your Jules Verne's submarine. Was the first nuclear powered submarine in the history. I believe that submarine is no longer in service, but considering how many submarines that have been produced in over years, I mean, now these days, many actually been powered by that. But the artifacts tell stories that Alexander the Great supposed to have been in a submerged vehicle during the 300 BC. If that is true, I don't even know because only records. Though, when it comes to development of technology, though, it's just incredible how much most of the technology that's being developed. And if I had to say one of my favorite inventions of modern time, it had to be the internet and the computer itself. Then I think that one of the things that I would consider as the least favorite one is video games. For not as a bad reason, it's very entertaining for many people. There is, but video games can be very addictive. I mean, just look at like World of Warcraft or something like that type of games. They have huge tournaments about those. But people can be at home eating junk food, drinking energy drinks, just to be playing games. And that itself alone is dangerous. It's not worth it. Yeah, in the end, not that's unhealthy. But video games can be fun as long as it doesn't get too far and doesn't distract you from your daily life and also not affect your health. Like when Pokemon Company released Pokemon Go, that was actually not a bad idea. For that was actually meant for people to get more exercise. Surprising, though, that I think of uh, of the American population, they expect at least a fifth of 10 people is obese, and they expecting like I think there's around they I believe the statistic was 15 or 35% of the population in America is overweight, and they believe some. I think it was a UN organization believe that America's population will have at least they estimate around I think it was 60 to almost 80% of the population by 2030 to 2050 will have uh, to have obese or overweight. Uh, I don't think anyone else is joining. I mean, there have been a few people that been appeared to watch this but left or left. I mean, if anyone want to play this Gage will stream with us, but well, it's up to people. I mean, Malachite is probably not even online, and Kubo, no idea. Hayden, well, he is not there. So the rest of our friends are AFK. So no idea. Well, probably, but I probably could cancel the Gage stream otherwise. Unless you will play yourself against yourself with a D20. Yeah, perhaps we can just skip it for now. Maybe another time. I mean, I think your dad is probably been busy with something else, and so yeah, I believe if we can just skip the casual stream to next time. Well, I mean, I will take us. Well, I think you just skipped the casual stream this time, since not many others have even showed up, and I doubt that anyone will. I mean, we are almost half an hour in. Great. My head is just starting being pain. Oh, that happens. Man. Well, true. You know what? There's act. Wait. No. never mind. I thought we can do Super Mario Randomizer, but not possible. That game is at your mom's place, not your dad's. Am I correct? Yeah. So that's no go, not a go project. Well, you've probably heard the term iceberg for many topics, many videos on YouTube. I actually seen there are in fact many types of topics when it comes to the iceberg videos on YouTube. It can be all from games. I did notice that there was one about the backrooms, and I seen that there were a few videos that were talk about the backrooms, and I was okay, not surprising. And I hadn't even updated that quiz yet. And I wanted to do the game show stream today with about Norse mythology, but since no one of our friends even show up, that's fun. So yeah, I actually for this past few months, I actually have been watching a lot of videos on YouTube as much as I can to find any reason and any sources of based on cryptids. And boy, I'll tell you, it was a lot, like really a lot of them. Um, there were these three channels that I have been looking at. One hasn't even been doing any updates for the past 2 months. One was, well, regular basis, but now last was about a month ago. That guy was doing based on cryptids on worldwide, different countries in Europe and all that, and even including the US states. That's only, I think it was about 9 states left, and Hawaii was one of the and but one of the states that are not has been made was actually Genghis' home state. Has not been mentioned in that, but surprising enough, when I looked up on about the Bigfoot sightings in the US, surprising enough, of all the 50 states, is only 49 that has Bigfoot sightings. Hawaii doesn't even have any Bigfoots. I was like, what? I mean, how is it even possible? I mean, the jungle there is a perfect habitat for a Bigfoot to be alive, but nope, not at all. I mean, the question is like, how would a Bigfoot even show up on Hawaii in the first place? Well, I mean, some researchers within Alaska, within the Bigfoot research community, believes that Bigfoots are actually not just a stupid animal. They believe that in fact they are intelligent, average human intelligence. Here's the further I believe why, and which they also believe because they have found signs of Bigfoots building nests, even small huts, and they had even built its tree structures in the woods, similar to like an Indian teepee, which is surprising. And they're also known to be using tree knocks to communicate and warn off intruders on their territory. And of course, Bigfoots itself are, well, very elusive. But the thing is about the scientific community, they don't believe that such being like a Bigfoot are even real. Because As many people, even as skeptics and even believers, also thought for many years, if Bigfoot are supposed to be real, so how long do they live and what happened to their remains? Because we have not as yet found human any sort of remains of a Bigfoot anywhere in United States at all. Some believe that they actually had taken the custom after being watching the Native Americans and the white settlers of burying their remains. Because if we would have found remains of an undiscovered species of an animal in the dense woods, well, it's not impossible. I mean, considering large areas of the United States are still undeveloped wildland, and well, most of them are just national parks, and some national parks can be huge land areas. Some of them can have um, land that would say is very inaccessible by car. Some might even be reachable even by walk. Some of them can be so far out of the region for that in some national parks in America it can be just. I mean, if the I mean, some part of the United States national park can have very insulated pockets of, you know, anything like that. So it is possible that Bigfoot could still exist. But there's still many researchers that doesn't believe that Bigfoot doesn't even exist. Then just look at Alaska. Alaska has so many Bigfoot sightings over the years. And the fact is Alaska is the least populated state in the whole America. It's about 750,000 people scattered. There are only a few, I think it's about a handful of big cities. Anchorage and Fairbanks are the two major cities in Alaska, but there are dozens of many scattered villages across the United States, Alaska. But there are always many untamed wildlands of Alaska that hasn't even been explored. So there is a possibility that there are tons of sightings and many Bigfoots has been reported been seen there. But there is one known Bigfoot cryptid is very dangerous. And here's the thing. It also caused a whole town to be abandoned. In the 30s, this abandoned town called Portlock in Alaska was a very thriving community. They had a huge industry in fishing and cannery, which they made canned food, but suddenly hunters and locals just vanished. Suddenly afterwards, those people were found shredded in pieces in the rivers. Their bodies just floating in the river and others never be found. And eventually people just considered to just it wasn't to live there anymore. So they just left. And if you would go to Portlock today, you would not find a single building. There's almost nothing left. People that live in the area, they will move to a different small town nearby, but those people still own the right of the land of Portlock. So if they want to go back and build a new town, they can. But people are afraid to even go back there because this hairy beast is supposed to be the most dangerous Bigfoot in that part of the region. It's so dangerous. And of course, when it comes to Bigfoot in the United States, there are many different names for him. Some of them can have as Arizona. They had their Bigfoot known as Magula Monster, and you have um, Ohio's Grassman. You have um, Pennsylvania White Thing, which is a Bigfoot that's completely white, a albino, except no red eyes. And what else? Well, you have those um there are these ones that are called Woods Devil in New Hampshire and some other places around the United States. Of course, some of the Bigfoots had often been given a local name. In fact, those those towns start to is actually been advertising, putting use of the Bigfoot for marketing, for local tourism, to increase their economics, and I don't see no reason for that. I mean, people are using the Yeti for many movies and TV shows, and I mean, lake monster. Then there are many lake monsters as well. I mean, you have Champ from Lake Champlain. Um, you have Bear Lake Monster. You have wow, I mean, there are so many lake monsters in the United States. Of course, there are those in even the ocean. There are simply as many cryptids in the universe that's very unique. One that's supposed to not be even a navid, which is the chupacabra, the goat sucker. The goat sucker, the chupacabra, was the first appearance in mid 90s on Puerto Rico, and now in early, I think sometimes late 90s and early 2000s, where they actually spotted chupacabra in Texas, of all places. Now it's supposed to be even it's been spotted in Latin America, even as far as east as India. It is supposed to have been, and as far as north as Canada. But here's the thing: I later found out there not just one type of chupacabra, but there are three types. One reptilian, one mammal, and the third is a flying chupacabra. When I first learned of flying chupacabra, I was like, are people really expecting to believe that? But then, I mean, there is actually even one type of cryptid. I mean, even to this day, I really have, I really don't know if this is would considered as a cryptid, but atmospheric jellyfish, like a jellyfish, a giant jellyfish in air. I'm not surprised. I'm not kidding. There are literally photos supposed allege those creatures. And there were actually one channel TV show, Monster Quest, that I have been seeing from time to time. They a woman did allege to seen this supposed to being she believed it either been a dire wolf, a long extinct wolf species in Americas, or it could have been a cryptid. Unfortunately, though, but she actually did save the remains of it, but only the bones. And she did send that in for a lab with the help of the Monster Quest. It turned out it wasn't even a cryptid. It turned out to be a wolf dog hybrid. And those are not that typically uncommon either. I mean, it happens. I mean, after all, dogs and wolves are really closely related, so if it happens, it happens. And when are some people saying dragons? Are they considered as cryptids? Um, I would just say typically no. I mean, considering dragons are more as mythological creatures like unicorns, and but there have been spotted on supposed dragons around the world, including in the US. And I was like, what? And those dragons are known as Iowa dragons. Of course, there are so many creatures that there's I don't know if many of my fellow American viewers have even heard of this typical so-called lumberjack uh, fearsome critters. They were mainly based on lumberjack stories of creatures that supposed to exist. Like there are some really pretty weird ones. One, it looked like a rowing boat with four legs. And then there's this look like a coffin. Yeah, an actual coffin with four legs. And if it lands, if it hit the ground, just bound down, the ground will shape as a square hole. And there's this cactus cat, a feline cryptid creature supposed having. It looks like a normal feline, a normal house cat, except that it had a spike, like a ball of spike on its tail, and its body is covered in thorns of a cactus. And there is the one so called splinter cat. It's it looks like more like a bobcat or a puma or a cougar that use its own head to splint a tree in half. Now that's impossible for. Here's the thing: a human skull or an animal skull cannot even crack a tree. Well, maybe a little small, thin trees, but a full-grown tree, not even remotely possible. If you ran a car against one, well, maybe, but a skull itself, not at all. I mean, there is one fearsome critter. It looks like a monkey, but it lives in the hollow trees and using a stick to hit people with. So, yeah, fearsome critters are not even considered cryptid at all. But there is one of those supposed fearsome critters. Well, it kind of look like a giant slug, like a giant snail. Um, it slides down a mountain hill. Uh, I think maybe just an hour since no one else have been showing up, and I don't even know what else what to talk about. You know, I even saw this from Monster Quest yesterday about if Nessie is dead. A man believes that Nessie's remains had been found on the bottom of the lake. But here's the thing about it: we don't know if it's actually Nessie, and well, uh, I hadn't even seen if that happened, but you know what? I can just delete this afterwards. Just to be safe. I I don't know what else to even talk about, but I can say this: I also have seen that my well, not mine, but I recently saw that Super Mario Bros. Movie is now accessible on my TV that I can be watching. So so I might be watching that this weekend. What else? Well, not much. I haven't done much this today either. I mean, I got up around just before noon, went out with my parents for a walk with the dog, and it was a nice day. Not even too cold, not too warm, just average. Other than that, I just watching some YouTube for the most part, and well, worked on this my current story of uh, whoops, not that one. About G5 Christmas story, and Hayden is not the one that actually came up with the title. That was Vygots. She usually came up with that. And here's the thing: um, Malachite made 32 dolphin pictures um, for Vygots as a Christmas gift, and he told me afterwards, after I showed them to her, that I was supposed to be showing that until like the 25th. I was like, "Damn, you should have told me." But he told me afterwards that he told me not to. Well, I forgot. But it's easy to do that since, after all, a lot of things have been happening. I mean, considering for this part, December is always the busiest month of the year with shopping for gifts, uh, food, all that. So that's gonna be fun. I don't know if this is a common thing in the US, but in Sweden it is a very common thing that you can actually go eat um, the typical Christmas food on different places, like restaurants or smaller places. I know that IKEA has in their restaurant section that they have it celebrate, and and the only thing is this is different from the American Christmas food to the Swedish one is that we don't eat turkey, we eat ham, and we don't eat pie, as most people do. We don't. But we eat most typically um, meatballs, eggs, um, so fish, small ones, uh, potatoes and all that, and many others. Since there, I mean, if people want to know more about it, just look it up on Wikipedia, which is still there. But yeah, it's just typically that. And how my family celebrates Christmas, well, isn't really not that different. I mean, first around 3 p.m. we are watching uh something on TV. Let's see what it says. Yeah, here we go. It's something about it's called. This is actually American program, but it has been broadcast here since 1960. It is in English. Is from all of us to all of you, which is a Disney show where it's showing Santa's workshop. Um, uh, well, basically, where Bambi, Pinocchio, Little Tramp, Cinderella, Snow White, Peter Pan. Well, actually, not anymore. Um, Chip and Dale, a few things. So, yeah, we usually watch that around 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. After that, we have dinner, Christmas dinner, and after that, maybe just around 5 to 6 p.m. We usually rest until after dinner and open our gifts. And after that, we don't do anything much. And well, that depends if we were only me and my brother, for example, we probably would open our gifts around 6, maybe 5 to 6 p.m. or something. But if we have all my sister's kids here, oh boy, well, not only that would be as early as 5 p.m. or 5:30 as the earliest. And I was like, okay. And we usually had this tradition that we have two people. One that reads the name where the gift is for and from, and one that turn and gives this gift to the person. I remember one year, um, I did mention that to my sister, one of the gifts did contain something that was fragile, and she freaked out. I mean, she literally flipped on me on that. I was like, why? I just mentioned it's something that was fragile. I didn't say what it was or to who, but it was years ago. I was probably still a teenager, a long time. I think it was 5 or 6. I remember, I think it was a Christmas 95 or 96. That was more funnier times actually. I remember one time I literally snuck into the living room, grabbed a small gift that was from my brother, and at the time my dad was only home. I don't know where my mom and sister were and my brother, so I opened it, but my dad found out and he wasn't happy at all. But every single year when I was a kid, I always wanted a Star Wars ship, an X-wing. But every single year, including my birthdays, I never got any because they were too expensive. By the end, I got used to it though. Though for and for well, I don't know, but Christmas has always been one of my favorite holidays of the year. I remember one year we weren't actually at home. We were at my grandfather's old apartment before he moved away, and this also was before his third wife passed away. So this was before 2005, at least. And she was the Santa Claus, but let's say she wasn't like the complete sober Santa Claus. She was, I would say, in between sober and drunk, or in not uh unsober. But she wasn't like too wasted or anything. It just she was a complete awareness of what she was doing or something. But the beard, it ended up stuck in the tree a few times. That is the funniest part. Oh, that's the funniest Christmas I ever remember. As long as I live. But Christmas has always been my favorite holiday. Even though, yeah, it was pretty funny though, but sadly, she hasn't. She ever since then she wasn't a Santa Claus. Or there is actually one story. It's actually one story that I've been told from either about my mom or my sister. I don't know if this is true or not, but there was this family, this single mother. I believe she was in her mid to late 20s, I believe. She had two kids, and she gave them one Christmas 30 gifts each. It was like almost a half of the tree was covered in that. And the year after, she was going to give them the double. I was like, what? Seriously? And even though there's only one Christmas that I don't remember of, but this has only been told from my parents that my my biological maternal grandmother actually came over to my family when I was just as a kid. This was around when I was probably 3 or 4 years old. I don't have no memories of that, even though I do have a few memories when I was 4 years old, but not that though. But she came over. I think it was 2 or 3 full black garbage bags filled with Christmas gifts. And the thing is, she hadn't even come back to see us even before then or even after. That was the only time she came with that many gifts. And frankly, I've been saying, even though that was the first time I even met her, I have no memories of her, and I don't even know if she's still alive or not. But my biological maternal grandfather, well, he passed away some years ago. I believe he was in his 60s, but I still have one maternal grandfather, my mom's adopted parents. My adopted grandmother passed away 2014. I was 23 years old. That was just before. It was in August. It was that time. And then my mom's adopted dad is still alive. He in his late 80s, still kicking. So she was adopted because well, this is only what I've been told. Um, when she was young, I think as a few months old, they tried to suffocate her with a pillow, and they even used a meat axe on her. If it's real or not, I don't know, but I'm pretty sure my parents would even lie about that part. So, another thing is, they were drug addicts as well. So, so my mom was adopted when she was very young. Even though her new parents was a little bit strict from time to time, but at least they loved her. They treated her with kindness and could be strict. I mean, any parents can be strict in certain rules, like you had to be home at a certain time of the day or the evening, like curfew, and you had to always to be and go to bed. We had to always do your homework, some of that type of things. And last time my mom met her dad, I think she was about 13. Ever since then, no contact at all. And we had even tried to reach out to her dad's side of the family. I mean, at all. Then, well, I do in fact have a few aunts from my dad's side of the family, which I I think I actually met before, but I don't even know if I have. But uh, well, at least one of them I have. That would be my dad's older half sister. But my other aunts or aunts, I really don't know though. So I mean, there aren't like no arguments between or something like that. There's just nothing. As people would say, why not you just why not you talking to them? Are there any had they been like disowned by the family or like you're outcast or like that. It's stuff like that. It's just that we haven't even we may try to reach out to them, they may not even reach out back to us. So yeah, it was simply like that. And I know that at least my mom has an older half brother, an uncle to me. Never even heard of him before, never met him. So that's just that. And of course, I do have some cousins that live in a different part of the country, which I never, well, maybe if I have met, but I don't have no memories of it. But we severed contacts with them, and that was what can it been? Um, well, almost 20 years now. Well, let's say my younger cousin from that family. Well, he was at first seems to be a decent person, but that was a complete charade. I'll tell you. Well, basically, he was younger than me at the time. I was 13, 14, and he was, I think, 8 or 9, perhaps 10. I don't know. But he was a cousin of mine. And he asked me if I want to give him my collection of Pokemon cards for something else in return, which I never did. But then he started telling me that I was dating my older sister. I was dumbfounded, and eventually I was just like, nope, I don't have any contact with him ever since. Going so far, telling me that I'm dating my older sister, that's too far. That's way too far. Even though he was younger than me, but my cousin could just saying I was dating my sister. So I told my mom about this, and she called up her sister, my aunt, and telling her about her son's behavior. But it turned out he had been saying some bad things to my mom. And in the end, my aunt didn't even try to apologize. So my mom decided to sever all contact with that side of the family permanently. So we haven't even talked to them for many years. He tried to. I have no interest at all to talk to that family at all. So of course, there are a few things about my family that's just can be considering as like typical normal family. Of course, I have some families in back in Finland from my dad's side of the family, which I never met. Well, I do in fact have some relatives on both from my mom and my dad's side of the family in America, but we hadn't even have any contact with them. The reason? Well, they know this is disagreements between our families. It's from my dad's side of the family was my paternal grandmother's side, is that some relatives from her side of the family moved to America over 100 years ago. Same thing as for my mom's side, some also moved to America during the 1800s and early 1900s, which a lot of people did. So, so that there are just I, or even though I knew about that families that they lived there, but I don't know which states. But I did actually did this DNA test. MyHeritage.com. You can be connected to long lost cousins, relatives that you may even heard of. I was like surprised to find out I had some relatives not only in America but also in different part of Asia and including Australia of all places. I find out I have at least a handful of relatives in Ukraine. I was like, let's hope that they are safe down there, considering what happened. Um, I mean, I also discovered from when my dad made his test to see what, well, he only knew that he was mainly from Finnish background. True, he was about 97%, which not surprising though. Um, the rest of the remaining was 1% of Baltic descent, and 1% of that was, well, according to him, must have been a mistake, but it showed 1% Japanese and Korean. I was like, what? What? I mean, my brain was like completely froze. But the thing is, according to my test, it showed 0.7% of Baltic ancestry, which from my dad's side was 1%, um, but it didn't show any Japanese or Korean descent at all. I was like really surprised that it showed even that. I was like, it must be a mistake, but if it is, wow. I mean, considering a lot of things, like it's really one of those craziest part of that. I mean, oh, I mean, I remember when Game Guy told me about his family that he made his DNA test, and it showed a lot. If you did show, I didn't see it, but basically, Game Guy is about 5% Irish, 4% Greek, Albanian, 2% Japan, not Japanese, but Swedish, Danish descent, 7% Germanic, European, 6% Welsh, 5% Norwegian, 49% English, Northwestern European, 15% Scottish, and 7% Northern, and 7 Northern Philippines. I was like, okay, I can stand when it comes to Scottish, uh, Welsh, English, and even part of Scandinavia, like Sweden, Denmark as an ancestry. I mean, I understand what that more makes a lot of sense because the earliest settlers from Americas were at the time just British or English, but later people moved over from all over the world, including from my country. But then when he mentioned the part that he was 7 part Northern Philippines or Filipino, I was like, okay, okay, that is well. And if our friend Malachi, for example, if he did a DNA test for to see his background is, I would not be so shocked that he mostly uh, British or English. I mean, considering that a lot of Americans today have some ancestry dates back to England, either from the mother's side or the father's side of the family. But who knows? He might have part of British blood in him, and it might even possibility to even have Native American. It's not impossible because, like Fire Goddess, she has 10% uh, uh, Lakota DNA. I know that you're here, Mr. Blue Marshmallow.
Hmm.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if you do, in fact, have some Native American DNA yourself.
Mm.
I mean, it's not impossible.
Well, surprised if I had any Italian. I mean, if I did, if I did, that would explain why I love pasta and pizza so much.
Well, I mean, it's true. It's possible, considering at least like if a game guy that he has, what was it, 49%, almost 50% of English ancestry, and it's not impossible to say that most Americans that do the fact have some ties to England and some from might maybe from the mother or the father side of the family. It's just the early settlers were from England from the first, and as he did mention that he has Swedish ancestry, not impossible either because a lot of Swedish people actually moved over. I think it was about 1.3 million for a long period of time, and in fact, I do believe there's about four. Uh, Let me see here. Swedish American. Come on. Come on. Ah, it's just. Oh, here we go. They estimate total of 3.3 million Swedish Americans. So, and and since a lot of people, even from Ireland, also moved over, since Game Guy is part Irish as well, and that's not in the and that is also explaining a lot of things because there were over a million, I think it was 1.5 million Irish that even moved to the US during the 1800s, I think it was 1850s. Well, that was the fact that there was a starvation, mostly to the fact that most of their country's potato lands, the farmlands, was devastated by a fungi. And a lot of Italian also moved over to America. So it's possible that you could even have Italian or perhaps even, well, Italian, British, and who knows, maybe Scandinavian DNA. I mean, it's not impossible. I mean, it's I mean, even if like say a game get lower to college, is like, is it maybe there is possible that there's always a chance that it could have been possibility related, but like long distant cousins and and who knows. And the reasons why Game Guy isn't talking is because he's sick and his throat is not, well, isn't really happy for him. That was his, his stream. Not surprising. So where have you been? Don't tell me you just woken up.
No, I got up a little around 2 and was on my tablet for a bit.
Well, we were originally supposed to be doing a Geisha stream about Norse mythology, but since no one else even showed up, and since his brothers aren't even there, and he said maybe his dad will join in, but he is apparently asleep. So yeah, that will probably maybe next time though. But it's might be in a few, maybe sometimes next week, since I only had a few hours left on this until we've been resetting. Yeah,
So
I might just
Game Guy's voices sound a little hoarse.
maybe or a walrus.
No, that's the term my mom used last year in June when I laughed a bit too hard and I was my voice was sounding a little wheezy and hoarse as well.
Dude, I know what that's like. I mean, I did mention this to the game guy earlier. Um, some years ago, I had a serious cough in the middle of the night, and the next day, my throat was so sore, and when I was talking, my parents told me I sound like a walrus. I'm not joking. It did happen, and that, and if I talk too much, like if I'm doing a audio story or anything, well, if I'm doing long ones or multiple ones in a one day, or it can torn us on my throat a bit. So I mean, I'm not surprised that I didn't really kill my throat around when I made those 16 stories in less than a week. Or at the time when I made that Rarity Trixie story, but it was nearly 2.5 hours long. Boy, I don't really push my limit on that one. And finally done with my newest auto series. And yeah, I'm currently working on this next story that's going to be uploaded also around Christmas. Since I kind of did the same thing as for uh, Halloween, a frightening nightmare night. That type of story will be for Christmas. It's called A Bright Down and Shiny Christmas. It's basically where it's said to take place a few months after G5 ended the story, where Opaline is defeated and Misty feels a little kind of a bit left out. She doesn't seem to feel the same spirit of Holiday. I mean, I can understand the reason because when she was still in the service of Opaline, she didn't celebrate that holiday with Opaline at all. So yeah, that's gonna be fun to be done. How many pages are there so far? Come on, come on. Total of almost 7. So I might just do 8 or 9. My head, oof, it really pains me today. And tomorrow, well, I won't be home at sometimes in the noon, in the afternoon. I will be with my dad, my mom, and a dog to let's see, neighbor town Christmas market. So that happens. Other than that, I really haven't any plans for this weekend. I'm surprised that Kubot even showed up or Hayden did, but damn. Well, so what you been up to though, Mister Marshmallow?
Mm, nothing much. I'm surprised you forgot about me saying about me that I was going to share those pictures with Fire Guys last night.
Yeah.
I mean, all I did was go on to this site. I don't know if you may have heard of it or not. I think Kovo may have used the site for a few of his pictures, but all I did in on this image generating site called Playground, I went in and I typed marine dolphins, double rainbow, jumping out of the water, blue sky, and palm trees. And these images were what the site created.
Hmm.
And I was pleased with the results. I figured, you know what? If I can make a couple of these, and I showed Swedish and maybe see if he could keep a secret, maybe Fire Guys would be surprised if I shared them with her.
Yeah. I mean, she did love them though.
Yeah, but I'm surprised she didn't tell me personally. Thank you. I mean, she does have me as a friend to Facebook.
Hmm.
Oh, and our little Dragacy update. I hatched a cyber dragon that I bred in that I got off of a rare breed.
Hmm. Well, I don't know what else to talk about. We cannot, at least once we will roll out randomizer since he is at that place and he didn't bring it. So yeah, we probably want to win him millionaire today since Game Mass is not up for it. Doesn't feeling too good. I'm still a bit surprised that Cool Village finally showed up again after all that time.
I'll mind. Yeah, it was nice seeing the it was nice seeing the monkey butt again, but I oh I mm, mm.
Well, I probably should end stream here, and so uh, it has been fun, I guess. Well, everyone, this is Fish Novel signing off. Bye.
Bye.